Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about, are you CCS, the Certified Coding Specialist, exam ready? If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys. So if you are about to take your CCS exam or you're thinking of taking the CCS exam, just know that this is the gold standard of medical coding credentials. This says that you have mastered inpatient coding and outpatient coding. You do not have to have experience to take this test, although it does help. The AHIMA website will even say it is recommended that the individuals that are taking this exam have experience in the real world. And the reason that this is so critical is because there are nuances to being a medical coder, and knowing certain things really does help in your understanding of the documentation and what's going on. So today is going to be a look at the things that you should know, because I'm going to read it directly from the AHIMA website, from the domains listed for this exam, and some other tips for you if you are getting ready to take it. Okay, so here we go. All right, so the Certified Coding Specialist exam offered with the American Health Information Management Association covers inpatient coding and outpatient coding. This credential says that you can code anywhere. You can code for a hospital, you can code for an outpatient clinic, you can code for a freestanding outpatient clinic. You can do any of these things because you have the CCS. Now, there are 107 questions on this exam. There is exactly 2 minutes and 24 seconds average for each question on this exam, all right? Not every question is going to take you 2 minutes, 24 seconds. Some will take you longer, some will take you just really quick. It really all depends on you, okay? But just know that this test is not an easy test. These are not like really quick questions. These are designed to make you think. There are 2 sections to this test. There is a multiple choice section, and then immediately when you're done with that, they will bring up the case studies. Okay, so we're going to go over what's on those domains. Domains means what is on that test. What is that test covering? Okay, and so domain 1 for the CCS exam is coding knowledge and skill. This is going to be the bulk of your exam. All right, it is 39 to 41% of the exam. It talks about the tasks are assigning diagnosis and procedure codes based on the provider's documentation in the health record, identify principal/first listed diagnosis and procedure based on the respective guidelines. So knowing inpatient coding and outpatient coding guidelines is very, very important. Now, I always emphasize on my channel to learn slowly, which is really studying and not doing any stupid shortcuts, because you do shortcuts, it will show on these tests. Now, I have recommended that if you read the coding guidelines in their entirety once per week while you are in your program, you are going to be a lot more prepared, because there's too many questions out there from people, and especially my new coding students. It's just worrisome when I see the level of questions that are so simple, and I know these people are not looking at the coding guidelines at all. Okay, you have to look at the coding guidelines, whether you find them confusing or not, whether you don't understand them, whether they frustrate you. It doesn't matter what you feel. You need to read these. These are our rules. Okay, this is going to let you know what goes first, what goes second, what should be picked up instead in different scenarios. So applying coding conventions, guidelines, and regulatory guidance, attach CPT, HCPCS modifiers to outpatient procedures, determine appropriate sequencing of diagnosis and procedure codes in case scenarios, apply present on admission guidelines. You got to know what present on admission is. Demonstrate knowledge of coding edits in CCI, the National Correct Coding Initiative, and medical necessity. Okay. Demonstrate knowledge of reimbursement methodologies, DRG, APCs. That's what they're talking about. Abstract applicable data from the health record and identify major comorbid conditions, MCCs, and comorbid conditions, CCs. Domain 2 is coding documentation, 18 to 22%. Resolve conflicting documentation in the health record, like admission type or laterality. Ensure all required documentation for assigning a specific code is available within the body of the health record, and verify and validate the documentation within the health record. Domain 3 is provider queries. Not such a big part of this test, but it's still very important, 9 to 11%. Identify elements of an ethical compliant query. You should know that. Determine if a provider query is compliant, non-leading, contains appropriate clinical indicators, because you never want to lead the witness, okay? Analyze current documentation to identify query opportunities. Domain 4 is where we pick up again in the heaviness of this exam. Regulatory compliance is 18 to 22%, which is to ensure completeness and accuracy of health records, understand payer-specific guidelines like Medicare, for example. It doesn't say Medicare here, but just something that you ought to keep in mind. That's kind of what they're talking about there. Identify patient safety indicators, PSIs, and hospital-acquired conditions, HACs, based on the provider's documentation. Got to know what that means, right? Ensure compliance with HIPAA guidelines, ensure adherence to AHIMA standards of ethical coding, and ensure compliance with the Uniform Hospital Discharge Dataset. And then Domain 5 is 9 to 11%. Information technologies. Distinguish various types of electronic health records. Demonstrate a basic understanding of encoding and grouper software. Exhibit an understanding of computer-assisted coding software and its impact on coding. And then ensure compliance with high-tech guidelines. Now, before any of you writes to me hyperventilating and says, "Blue, I've never been in medical coding before and I don't know if I could take," yes, you can, okay? Remember, the bulk of this exam is going to be your coding knowledge and skill and your reimbursement side, right? Information technologies, where they're talking about the EHR and the computer-assisted coding, this is only 9 to 11%. So there's just very few questions and probably not something that's going to typically impact your score. But you can easily look this stuff up online. You can easily look at any videos that are available about these topics that you don't know too much about online, okay, or on YouTube. So it's not that scary. Where you really need to make sure that you're focused on is, do you understand coding? That is going to be the bulk of this test, along with reimbursement. So you need to at least have that good foundation. You need to know how to get through your coding manuals. You need to know which coding manual is for what. The ICD-10-CM is for your diagnosis coding. The ICD-10-PCS is for your inpatient procedures. Your CPT manual is for your outpatient procedures and evaluation and management. Okay? So the whole domains is the first part. That's your multiple choice, okay? Because remember, there's 2 sections to this test. Please remember, if you hear anything that I say today, there are 2 sections to the CCS exam. Multiple choice, which is all of that, the domains. And now the medical scenarios is going to be your second section. And it's going to be inpatient procedure coding, right? That's 33.3%. Outpatient is 33.3%. And emergency department is 33.3%. So that's the thing that you have to understand. You got to know and how to spot these and make sure that you're paying attention and that you're reading and that you have to go with your first instinct, because if you don't, you will fail. Okay? If you can't make it out of that multiple choice in a sufficient amount of time to get to the case studies, and you need at least an hour and a half on those case studies. When you go in, of course, you'll have that little time thing, little ticker time thing, and so you'll be able to see how much time you have. But you need to make sure that you're timing yourself well, so that you're able to get through the multiple choice, you're able to get to the case studies in time, and still be able to look and read them and pay attention and not try to be rushing because you couldn't make up your mind with the multiple choice section. Okay, that's very, very important. You cannot go back. Okay, that was the latest from what I remember too, because I took the test back in 2021. I had the CCA since 2008. I had it for 13 years, and then November 2021 was when I took my CCS exam. Of course, passed it. But the thing is, I held on to the CCA because I'm stubborn, and I was tired of people trash talking the CCA, so I wanted to show them what CCAs could do, and I changed lots of hearts and minds, which is great. But there comes a point in time when you have to move on, and that's what I did. And so I do have the CCSP and I have the CCS. So the thing about the CCS is that you cannot go back. A lot of people before, they were able to, bookmark it and then come back, if you wanted to look at it again. You have to answer the question and move on, okay? Now, I don't think that that's the case with the RHIT. I think they changed it back. I don't remember. I don't know. There's so much back and forth online. But just be prepared that you're not going to be allowed to go back. You have to pick an option and move on, okay? So that's just one of the things that you have to know. That's the way AHIMA does their exams. AAPC is different, and their setup is different as well. If you're taking an AHIMA exam, you have to go to a Pearson VUE Center. Some of the exams allow for remote taking. I don't think the CCS is one of them, though. But just so you know, you typically will go to a Pearson VUE Center, and you will take the test there. I prefer to go into some place and take an exam rather than trying to do it remotely, because anything could happen to your connection, anything could happen to your setup, anything could happen, and you have to forfeit that money, okay? And people will want to argue back, whatever. I'm just saying, it's just better, and in my mind, I think that that's gonna alleviate some of that stress on exam day, okay? But if you have an idea of all of these things, and if you've been studying 20 hours per week, looking up the codes, you don't have your books all littered with tabs. You don't need tabs. Tabs get in the way. They rip your pages. You're going to tear up your book, and your book is going to be all ratty. And for what? Because you want to make it look like you're studying? Get out of here. You want to make sure that you are studying properly, okay? I'm a coder. I know what it's like to study and be a coder, okay? You're brand new and you're coming into this. And so if you say, well, no, Blue, this is how I learn, but you've never been a coder. I have been a coder, and I'm telling you, this is how you learn properly. Because a lot of people, they try to resist, and then the result is what they get, and then they don't know what happened. You're not listening, okay? So when I say to study 20 hours per week, that is 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunchtime, 30 minutes on your drive home, okay? You could be listening to something, and then you have 1 hour and 1 hour to be working with your workbook. That's in 5 days, that's 17 and a half hours, and that's 2.5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. And do not neglect those 2.5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday, because that's 10 hours at the end of the month. 10 hours that you didn't study versus 10 hours that you did study, okay? And if you've completed your program and you say, I really want to go for the CCS, and you take it within 90 days, that is ideal, because all of that stuff will be fresh in your mind still, and especially if you've been really studying like you're supposed to, that's what's going to help you. There are no shortcuts to this exam. There is no boot camp. There is no class you can take, no preparation, no nothing that you can do, that you can pay for, that if you're not already doing this yourself, you can help yourself, okay? Because a lot of people will do that. Well, what programs or what classes do you recommend to prepare me for the test? If you're studying like you're supposed to, you will be prepared. You don't need to be spending any extra money, okay? It's foolish and it's senseless. If you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, you are going to save yourself a lot of heartache and money, okay? Because people will sell you. They'll sell you anything. And some people swear by, oh, yes, I did this and it helped me. Okay, that's fine. But at the same time, again, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you'll be able to pass a test like this, okay? The AHIMA does have the CCS exam prep book, and people have depended on that so much, that they think that that's what's actually on the test. None of those questions that's in the CCS exam prep book are on the test. I have to say that because there's lots of people who do think that, and then they write to me upset and complaining that none of those questions were on the test, that they had memorized all of those questions. If you are doing that, you have no business taking this exam. No business at all. This exam is for competence, is to demonstrate competence. If you are memorizing for the sake of trying to shortcut your way because you really still don't understand, again, you have no business taking this test. This test is for people who have studied and who have applied themselves. And yes, there's people who barely pass it by the skin of their teeth, because a pass is a pass is a pass. And I understand that. But at the same time, you're not doing yourself or your employer any favors by barely having knowledge. And if you come to me with, oh, Blue, I'm just a nervous test taker, there's really no such thing as a nervous test taker. What it is really is an unprepared test taker. That's what the problem is. It has nothing to do with your nerves. It has everything to do with the fact that you probably didn't study like you were supposed to. If you're studying for 5 hours, oh, Blue, I can only get in 10 hours per week, then you don't want this bad enough. You don't want to know this enough. Because if you did, then you would make the time. And even if you have a full-time 40-hour per week job, a house full of kids, a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, boyfriend and girlfriend, farm animals, it doesn't matter. You would make time if it's really, truly important to you. Because this test is about competence, okay? And again, even if you pass by the skin of your teeth, that still shouldn't be like, oh, well, I don't have to worry because I passed. Passing with a 301 or a 302, the passing score is a 300. If you're barely passing by the skin of your teeth at 301, 302, then you should be thankful, number one, that you passed. But number two, you should be getting back to your workbooks. Because again, workbooks can help you just as much as the exam prep book, okay? If you have been with my channel for a little while, or even if you're brand new, in the description box of this video, because I will not respond to anybody who says, well, I don't see it. In the description box of this video, there are the books that I recommend. All those books are what I recommend, okay? And it covers everything: medical terminology, medical law and ethics, and all of that good stuff. Plus, I do have the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS coding handbook with the answers. That is one book, okay? It is one whole book, and that covers your inpatient coding, and it covers your inpatient procedure coding, and it covers your diagnosis coding. So that is a fantastic book to use to prepare yourself. There, it goes through all of the chapters, right, in ICD-10-CM, and it also has lots of case studies in the back of that book, okay? So lots of practice. And if you are practicing like you're supposed to and you're working through that whole book, you will be ready, because there is literally no excuse after having gone through all of that and understanding it and getting most of those questions correct. You'll be ready, right? And with the CPT side, I do recommend the CPC study guide. Even though you're taking the CCS exam, I recommend the CPC study guide, because the CPC exam is all about outpatient coding, and the majority of it is CPT coding. So that book is very well written. I'll give it to AAPC. They did a really good job on that one. It explains everything. There's very few codes in there that I disagree with. Again, being a experienced coder, I'm looking at this from an experienced and well-trained eye. So there's going to be some things that I'm going to disagree with, but that's okay. For the most part, it's very well written and put together. It explains things in a way that makes sense to new people, and that's what I like. It's the same thing with the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS coding handbook with the answers. It has lots of explanations in it as well. They have 100% of the answers in there, and so that's the thing that will help you if you're going through those. To find those, if you can't find a current year version of those, it's okay to go as far back as 2022. Those workbooks, those are for those two workbooks now. Those two workbooks, again, will help you in preparing, okay? Because it's going to give you that practice for coding. It's going to give you that practice for the CPT side, the ICD-10-CM side, and the ICD-10-PCS side, okay? The other thing that you should know, if you have the Optum ICD-10-PCS manual, in the back of that manual, there is Appendix M. A lot of people don't know that this is there, but Appendix M has a list of 388 procedures for inpatient coding that you can look up. You need to have gone through all of that as well. So that way, okay, you know your ICD-10 PCS forward and backward. You've gotten good practice with all of the surgical approaches. And that is the key to understanding where to go in the book, okay? So just something that you ought to know there, okay? But with that said, Pearson VUE, when you go take your exam there, they do expect you to be comfortably dressed, but they will not allow you to wear a belt. You cannot have jewelry. You can wear a wedding band, but you cannot wear jewelry like a necklace or a watch or anything like that. You have to take all of that off. There will be a locker there that you can lock up all of your stuff, your purse or your wallet or your keys, any of those things. They will go into a locker. You will be able to take your books in there with you, okay? And the desk is going to depend on, that Pearson VUE Center, but the desk area is usually very small, and you have to like stack the books on top of each other. It's not that bad, guys, okay? It's really not that bad, but a lot of people complain because there's not enough room, and I get it, but it's just part of the setup, okay? So that's just something that you have to be ready for. But no watch, no big barrettes in your hair or anything like that. Not that anybody would have a big barrette, but if they had like a scrunchie or something, you can't have any of that in your hair, okay? If you have glasses, a lot of times they will ask you to remove them. They will look at them and make sure that they're not special kind of glasses, okay? So that way they know that you're not trying to cheat. Don't wear anything excessively baggy, okay? Because again, they want to make sure that you're not taking anything in there that you're not supposed to, all right? These tests are very secured, all right? So some people get upset about that, but I mean, I think the only thing that you really need to have on, if you have anything, is your wedding band, if that's what you're wearing. And of course, being comfortable. If you get cold, if you find yourself cold, make sure that you dress in a way that's light enough that if the room is hot, you'll be okay. If it's too cold, you still be all right, okay? So when I go, I wear jeans and a polo shirt, okay? And that's the one time that you'll catch me someplace like that. Or I'll wear slacks, but the two times that I have gone, I've always worn jeans, okay? But again, if I'm in a professional setting, I'm gonna wear slacks. But you can wear slacks if you want to. You can wear jeans if you want to, but just remember, no belt. Okay. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Make sure that you're getting plenty of rest. I always say to take a few days before you go in to take your CCS to not even look at your books, because it's not going to make you learn anything at the last minute if you try to hurry up and study the day of. It's just ridiculous. You're not ready yet, okay? You are ready when you accept that you've studied enough and that there's nothing else new that you're going to learn, that you're ready to demonstrate your knowledge and skill, and then you get in there and you take the test. It is normal to be nervous, but you want to make sure that you eat a little something before you go in. Don't eat something that's going to be so heavy and going to put you to sleep, because trust me, there's no time when you're in that exam room. But eat enough you're going to be okay for 4 hours, because you will come out of there hungry. Okay, I know, because I came out of there starving. If you drink coffee, make sure you drink coffee. a little bit, just enough to wake you up, not enough to make you jittery, but just enough to wake you up, because again, you don't want to be in there getting a headache and then all of a sudden now you can't focus because you got a headache and you got a growling stomach. Make sure that you eat something. No, you cannot take water, you cannot take snacks in there, you cannot do any of that, okay? They are serious about this test. And you can take a bathroom break, although they're going to stop your test, but the clock is still running. So if you take 10 minutes in that bathroom, that's 10 minutes you didn't have for your test, okay? So it's not even worth it. You don't have time to think about that anyway, trust me, because you're in there and it is go time. That is all it is. It is go time, okay? So just make sure that you prepared yourself and that you're going to be okay. Like I said, get just enough caffeine to keep yourself up and awake so that way you can take your test, okay? If something should happen that you don't do so well, you don't pass the test, it is okay. You can take it again. You do have to pay to take it again. And sometimes it just happens. This is not a easy test to pass. And it doesn't have a 100% pass score for first-time test takers, okay? It does not. And so I think it's 60-something% is what I saw for the last one. Oh, it's a 71%. There are 32,443 certified coding specialists as of December 31st, 2024. And as of 2024, there were 3,157 first-time test takers, and there was a 71% first-time pass rate. So, I mean, that's pretty good, but again, that's something that you need to make sure that you are prepared. This is not fun and games. This is not an easy test at all whatsoever. This credential is in high demand because the people who hold this have shown diversity in their knowledge, that they know not just outpatient coding, but they know inpatient coding as well. That is why it is a mastery medical coding certification. That's not my distinction. That's an industry distinction, okay? That is an industry distinction, and there's a reason that it is the gold standard. There's other credentials that they say, oh, this is the gold standard. No, nothing beats the CCS when it comes to medical coding certifications. Nothing. I'm just saying. So with that said, you're prepared when you accept that you have done everything like you're supposed to and you have been practicing sufficiently. I mean, you can't lie to yourself because you're going to know, okay? No one else is taking this test but you. It is on your shoulders, all right? And again, if anything happens, you can just retake it again. There's no limit to the times that you can retake it, although there is a time lapse that you do have to wait before retaking it. It says that you have to wait at least 30 days before their application is approved again. To me, if you failed it, even if you failed it by 2 points, it doesn't mean that you need to be taking it again in 30 days. If you failed it, you need to be waiting 90 days. And in that time, you can restudy again. So that way, when you take it again within those 90 days, at the end of the 90 days, you will have a better opportunity, better chance of passing it. One, you already know what's there. You already are familiar. This is not unfamiliar territory you're walking in on. It will not be the same test. It will be a different test, but you will already know and you will have already experienced all those nerves already. So this is just coming back to finish what you started, which is to pass that exam, okay? And if you fail, it happens. No reason to beat yourself up, but just make sure that you are studying. And that's how you're going to know that you're ready. Is it going to be a moment where you tell yourself, oh yes, I'm 100% ready? Very few people have the ability to do that, okay? Even the smartest people, the most prepared people will still have that little teeny tiny feeling of self-doubt. And that's okay. That's part of the human fabric. That's part of our human nature. But it shouldn't be something to scare you into not taking the test, okay? If you're studying like you're supposed to, making sure that you put in those 20 hours per week. I have the study trackers. If you want to order a study tracker is like a money savings challenge except for with time, right? There's bubbles that have 30 minutes and 60 minutes. It's on a worksheet, and you bubble it in as you are completing your studies. So that way you have a visual up where you can see it, okay? I send it to you. It's downloadable. They're $5. You can reach out to me in the description box below. I have one for 20 hours for the week. So that way you can see, you can feel like you're doing something. And I have one that's 80 hours, and that is for the month. You're supposed to put in 80 hours in 1 month. And yes, it is possible, okay? But just make sure that you are studying like you're supposed to, reading those coding guidelines or listening to the coding guidelines. Do that so that way you can be ready, okay? And look on the domains. And if there's anything that you see that you don't understand, then look up an article and read that article or watch a video about that on YouTube. So that way you can be prepared, okay? You should know a little bit about everything on this test. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Best of luck to you. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.